Hey everybody, I just want to try to answer some of the questions that I keep getting in regards to the Glock fishing experiment. So we started out trying to see if we could fire a Glock underwater. And what we found out is we had to make some serious modifications to make it safe. So let me start by saying I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying that everything that I'm saying here is right, but there is not a lot of information on this topic from when we got into it. And so we kind of had to make it up as we go. So I just want to talk about some of the observations that we've made since we started. So the number one question is, why did you use a suppressor? And the number two question is, why didn't you just use a regular suppressor? And so the answer to that question, number one, is it's extremely, incredibly, painfully loud to fire a Glock underwater. We fired it one time. It was incredibly painful for me shooting the gun. And the people that were with us that were a good distance away felt like the gun went off in their ear as well. So you have to understand that water is not compressible like air. So when you have that explosion immediately, the water acts as like a piston straight to your eardrum, whereas the air in between the round going off in your eardrum is compressible. So it's not hitting you quite so hard. And this is why in the water you can feel it go through your whole entire body at a good distance away. So if you look at the video, you can see that if this was a regular suppressor where you have baffles on the inside and it's meant to contain all of the air inside of the suppressor, the air wouldn't go anywhere. You can't compress the water that's inside of there. The water would just stay there and nothing would happen at all. The round would go straight through the water, as the pressure outside would be the same as the pressure inside. Because you have to understand that in scuba diving, because we're scuba divers, we use aluminum scuba tanks that are called aluminum 80s, or not pressurized at 0.39 cubic feet or 11 liters. And when they're at 3,000 psi, they have 80 cubic feet. So that's 230 times the amount of air is being pumped into those things at 3,000 psi. In a 9mm handgun, you're looking at 35,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. The gas could compress upon itself. So hypothetically, in our model here that I made this video for, you would have a suppressor that was large enough to contain all of the air as it's pressurized, and it's leaving the chamber slower than the air that's coming out before the bullet leaves. Then the air is being compressed in the back of the suppressor and in the second chamber on the outside. And right as it gets to the holes where the water is coming out of, the bullet leaves the barrel, which relieves the pressure, and the gas comes back through the initial channel, through the holes that it went into the second chamber through. Now, this is hypothetical. In our suppressor model, obviously in the examples, you can see a lot of air coming out the holes that we had. We had a lot more holes in it than we did in this one, which allowed the gas to expand out a lot faster, and it definitely wasn't contained inside of the suppressor. However, we made a couple different models and we did have varying results on that. Some suppressed a lot more air. And in the one that you see that looks like it's nothing but a stainless steel barrel with a bunch of holes drilled in it, that's all it is. It's a stainless steel barrel with a bunch of holes in it. So outside of the water and the air, this is nothing more than a flash suppressor. We call them flash suppressors. They're not regulated. It's not gonna change the sound in the air. It's not gonna decrease the volume shooting it out in the air. In that version, the version without the second chamber, honestly barely or had minimal effect underwater. It was still uncomfortable to shoot until we used the one with the second chamber that we're showing on here that I made this video on, and that one was significantly quieter. Again, we fired that outside in the air. It had no effect outside in the air. It was still loud. It's just a fancy flash suppressor. Now, we did have licensed professionals with us to do this, so we were able to do this without breaking any laws. We followed all the legal requirements to do all this stuff. But overall, we were just trying to find a comfortable way to get back to our first project, which was to see if we could fire a Glock underwater. So you have to understand that the amount of sound, the shock wave that's coming out of here is being caused by the air, is also completely proportionate to the depth that you are underwater. Because so you're a whole nother atmosphere of pressure at 33 feet. at 66 feet, you're a whole nother atmosphere of pressures. So hypothetically, if the gun had, for round numbers, 4 cubic feet of gas coming out of it, and we needed to contain that, at 33 feet, that 4 cubic feet of gas gets cut in half. It's only 2 cubic feet. At 66 feet underwater, it's 1.32 cubic feet. At 100 feet underwater, which is where we were shooting these guns and these fish, because that's where lionfish live. So it's very, very realistic that the suppressor would be able to contain all the gas that's being created. When you see these guns, people shooting them in their pools, you see all the gas coming out of it. Well, at 100 feet, it's a quarter of that amount of gas. It's a lot less gas. So we were able to contain the sound. We were able to make it much more comfortable, and it worked out pretty well. If some websites want to pick it up and talk about how wrong I am, that would be amazing. I'd love to read them. Somebody copy me on those. If you like this sort of thing, subscribe to my channel. We've got some other projects lined up that are going to be even crazier than this one. If you want to comment on how wrong I am on all these things, then leave the comments below. I'd love to see it. And if you've got questions, then leave those questions below. I'll do the very best that I can to answer. And subscribe to this channel. I'd love for you guys all to be a part of it. Thank you very much.